Open for any kind of logging we keep in mind we might do later. It's better. What might be the problem? Water leakage inside during the summertime from active layers. So usually I do not case the whole borehole when it's in permafrost, but for upper, like 1.5 meters, and here you can see it was up to 140. Yeah, I would put a casing in. Hopefully it will prevent water leakage. And now it's more fun. Да тут, ну, серый, нормально, это more... Sergey asked a very good question. The color of the soil changed. Any guess why?
From what to what?
From became more dark and gray, from more reddish. Anybody with biogeochemistry background?
Is it less organic?
No, well, it's might be associated, but not organic content. What process can be done with microbes? Bingo, redox conditions. So here is so because we have a unfrozen layer, and we are at the slope. So actually the water table is fluctuating during the summer. And I have soil moisture data from few sites around that hill, so uphill and a little bit downhill where we do not have permafrost for a while, or it disappeared recently, more like we have here. And you can see what water level is really fluctuating. So in summertime, at the beginning of summer, a lot of water from melting snow just follows the thawing depth, so the seasonal thawing. And then it responds to some really heavy rain, but still normal condition in Fairbanks in midsummer, it's a negative water balance, precipitation versus evapotranspiration. So more water is evaporated and transpirated than we have precip. And it makes what kind of condition? Oxic or reduction? Dry, if it's dry. No, if it's dry, it's oxidizing. Yeah,
Great.
Because when it's saturated with water, it's an oxic condition. And that one was frozen actually. Okay, I will need some mussels. Yeah, we need to move it up here. Wait a sec. Move it a little bit more. Your foot. Take your foot out. Okay, I think that's fine. Let me see. And I know I had to check it before, but it should be fine. Few more things which are not included usually in all of these coring kits. First of all, no coring without WD-40. Makes life much more easy. Another thing which helps to keep your core barrel clean is a wired brush. And one more thing I will show you later. Propane torch. When you do coring in summer, it's not a big deal. If you need to extract, so especially if it's ice-rich permafrost, just keep it on the open air, which is warm. For sometimes the ice will melt out at the sides of core, and you can slide it out very easy. If you do it in a well, today it's pretty warm, but usually when you do it in spring, it might be a little bit cold. Warm it with propane torch and the same, slide it out. Extensions of different length. Else I always have at least one short extension, shorter than like half of the length, because sometimes when you go the whole thing and then put another meter, it's even for handheld equipment not very convenient to use the really high. So use shorter one and it gives you more comfortable condition. Same for here. Yeah, it's better to start from the middle, not from the very top. Держи арбуз. Okay, now it's good. Another thing I told what that device must be anchored to the ground. I'll need more muscle again, so I will show you how to do that with this one. There's sled hammer. So when you do that kind of job, what is most important thing, which really helps? Yeah, it's a good safety rule, yeah. But to make you really efficient, to be mad about something. Good question. So original anchors which go to this drill rig which been broken or lost a while ago, because that drill rig had been used in Antarctic a while ago, then been stored in Seattle for some times and ended up here. So it has a hole. I can put a crowbar and just shaking and rotating, pull it out. So here very likely I will warm it up with propane torch and then use a pipe wrench again to rotate it and pull it out. So I will ask you guys to help me with that. Может не так глубоко, на половинку, на полшишки так зафигачим. Если она войдет еще, сука, войдет, никуда не денется. Так. Так вот под углом немного идет с этой стороны. Okay, yes, few safety rules. You are right. Important, but when I work with students in the field, I ask what is a safety rule, and usually say don't hurt yourself. I said, yeah, that's true, but it's a second rule. First, don't hurt me, because there are so many of you, and I'm only the instructor here. So yeah, don't hurt yourself. To do that, try to not stay back to the when it's separated. So usually, yeah, do it or ask Nick to do it for another one. Там еще кол есть и это самое. Тоже переставь. So, yeah, you can move, switch it. When we do really deep coring, we usually don't break it apart for each single extension, and we use like assembly of 5 meters. Core barrel and 4 extensions, or 5 extensions and 5 extensions. So we pull it out, loose, take that long one next to us. So usually I prefer, when we pulling it out, I prefer nobody stay in the radius of 5 meters. And we have usually we set up that core handling station, sampling site, like at least 5 meters off. If that long things lay down on the ground, never step over it. Better go around, because somebody will might not take care if somebody stay and try to pull it out, and it hurts. Few more things I will tell when we What I didn't do, I told you before, where all shovels are. I need a small one probably. We still have a good chance to to drop something in a borehole. And another thing I broke, I didn't have keep the core barrel inside when not operating. So a few words about the drill rig. It is manufactured. It was not crafted. It's a Russian design drill rig called UKB 12/25. It's not about Christmas, it's a depth. You can drill with augers without coring for 12 meters and up to 25 with core barrels with coring. It is also mechanically driven. Here you can see also two-stroke combustion engine from Russian chainsaw called Druzhba, means friendship. You can imagine how the guy who designed it was disappointed in people to call the chainsaw with word friendship. It's pretty good, but now actually that the vendor produces also gearboxes which are compatible with Chinese or Japanese engines. Sometimes ago they did it so I could attach Briggs & Stratton engine from lawnmower. And the ironic thing is what here I have a drill rig with a Russian engine, and in Chersky I have one with Briggs & Stratton in Siberia. Can be disassembled and at three main parts: the base and the gearbox. And at gearbox you can so remove the fuel canister and the engine. Three of us brought everything here, shoveled that space and assembled it in a less than in 1 hour with using just sleds. So actually a team of 2 or 3 people can carry it pretty far, just question of time you have. And it's, you see, each part is pretty compacted, so it can be easily loaded to the sleds. You can tow with snow machines, with boat, even that Argo 6-wheeler. Done? So what was the depth? About 170? 170, I think. Okay, let's try. Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding.
Just in case you get yourself in there. Sergey remembers.
Could
so you can
Yeah, that was fine.
So that winch has a 3 positions of that handle. All operation when so when it is here, it can move only upward. Anything you are doing down there must be done when handle in this position. Middle is neutral. You can go both up and down. And the lower is a working position. You can go only down. And because it's anchored, so you can push and it will just provide enough pressure. Here is a dynamometer which measures pressure. Have no idea what units are. I just know what is the position. Because it actually doesn't make a lot of sense, because actual pressure will depend on what size of core barrel you use, obviously. Шморгалка. Okay, we are good to go. So the thing is, what I noticed really. So the drill rig is not very well anchored. If I really thought to make a deep hole, I would anchor it way better. So it shouldn't really stand up. Да, не надо, сам сделаю. So about the team required for this drill rig, to operate this drill rig, up to 5 meters, let's say even 6 meters, I could do it by myself. If it's deeper, it's better to have team at least of 2. If it's deeper than, let's say, 15 or 20 meters, the more people the better, because we pull it out with hands. Okay, let's see if we took something. I cannot promise you good core here, guys, because the soil is really warm. And obviously when you core in, you provide a friction. What does friction do? It warms stuff up. And because the temperature is already pretty close to the freezing point. Сейчас, подожди, посмотрим, может быть. I think I just cleaned it out. Yeah, I think I just collected that stuff which
It's only at 168.
168, so it means it is collapsing. So just some muddy stuff flowing down. That is bad thing, because I thought to provide you more permafrost samples. I will make another try. Just почистишь. Там та фигня может не влезть ножом просто, или молотком выстучи. Молоток, да, вот он, держи. But in general, it's just push by push. So it's when it's a little bit colder, it's better conditions for coring. And it is actually it is a problem. The warm permafrost. At 2015, I was able to collect pretty good core at hilly area, but soil is really gravelly, so it was not perfect core, but at least it was frozen. In 2020, when we tried to repeat that effort, we failed because the temperature was right at the freezing point, and even insignificant disturbance just melted out the ground ice and so the permafrost. We'll try to make another push, but yeah, no how to say, no promising. But Sergey, you still, I think, I don't know, the samples might be too small, but you can try to measure conductivity of the samples as well.
So small.
Too small? Yep, next time we probably have to go. We thought to go a little bit further, which the area looks a little bit more promising for frozen soil, but it's not that much space there, and we have to go really deep in woods and with deep snow. So next time we have to be more prepared. But by the way, if you want to provide you some introduction with the technique of coring, I think yes. So when Sergey is cleaning stuff out, do you have any questions?
What's the deepest you've gone with this one? Deepest drilling?
I personally, my personal borehole with this equipment was 25 meters.
Wow.
It was in Siberia. Here in Alaska, the deepest was 11. But actually, we could go deeper. But well, it's obviously purpose of this all this activity is to get samples, right? And At that site we did it. I had this 11 meters deep. We hit the ice wedge at the depth of 4 meters, and then it was 7 meters of massive ice nobody actually need, and we decided, okay, we're just wasting time. But it's still it's good enough. 11 meters is good enough for deploy the sensors, temperature sensors in it, and I keep this record. Почислил. Ну давай закинем я еще разок. So I will make another push, but yeah, no promising. And я сомневаюсь, это саморедуктором затянется. Думаешь, моргулка. Да что? Okay, good luck. Нож. Okay, here you can see that it is frozen here. It's about 2 meters, yep. Nick, you can try to measure, but it might collapse again, you know, it's no promise. Yeah, it is collapsing actually. No, yeah, it's about 2 meters.
Yeah.
Yep, that is about right.
170, 197.
Okay, as I told, might be tricky to slide that frozen core out. We will need a propane torch. I don't know if there are any specific safety rules about propane torch other than common sense, don't burn yourself. Well, you can smoke, it's not a big deal. Just do not burn yourself. Do not use it if you have a gasoline or any flammable liquids on you. And it's better to have something with like cotton clothes. And the basic safety rules: gloves. Always do not touch any kind of metal parts, especially in winter with bare hands. Theoretically, I would say when I've been working on the project which is funded from Department of Energy, I wear hard hat because safety rules for federal government employees and projects are really tough. I didn't use it, and I think it was wrong. So any kind of ear protection, so this earplugs or whatever to protect, because you see it's pretty loud. Yep, unfortunately you see it, as I told, it's really warm. Still some samples. Okay, here's the last permafrost samples we collect today. Just come and see.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I want to ask you if anybody needs samples of frozen active layer for your studies or your supervisor's research or whatever, because I hate to waste cores. Because you see, it's kind of a lot of physical efforts, and yeah, if it's just for nothing. So if anybody needs samples, you're welcome to take. Any questions? Yeah, and that is a real permafrost sample. So as I told, if some of your supervisors might need it.
What you can do at home, you put your sample in a Ziploc and see how much water you have.
There you go.
It's an option.
So I was like, I was hoping for more.
Estimate the water content in the sample. I don't see any volunteers, right? Nick, how about you?
I'll take these.
Okay.
So usually when I have cores, then I bring it. If it's summer on some remote location and it's very difficult to keep core frozen, I just take samples I need and try to keep it frozen with the coolers or whatever. Even while ago, when I just been involved originally to coring with this device, what did we do working in Siberia? We didn't have any portable freezers or whatever, and we were staying in a camp for like weeks. First we drilled, we called it a refrigerating borehole with a bigger diameter. We drilled a couple meters to 3 meters deep borehole just to keep samples inside, keep it frozen. So when I do coring here, especially here in Alaska, and I can keep the entire core frozen, I just bring it back to the Fairbanks. We have a cold room, and then in more or less comfortable conditions, I can clean it, describe, do subsampling. If I feel tired or cold, I can have a coffee break or whatever. So what I usually do, it's the strategy depends on if the entire core is mine or I want to share it with somebody. If entire core is mine, I just clean it and then do description, and then use a bandsaw to slice it in a discs and because you can see the shape is pretty regular, I can do the measurements of volume accurate enough. Then I dry it, wait, then dry it and wait again, so I can have a gravimetric ice content. When I take samples of, just to avoid the misunderstanding, soil moisture. So when we work with frozen material, I would prefer to use words ice content. And it makes sense because what would be difference between soil moisture, volumetric, if we are talking about volumetric, soil moisture and ice content? What is the difference? Number, one number. 9%, correct. But because I know the volume, I can calculate volumetric ice content, I can calculate bulk density, and then I have dry sample, I can do whatever I want. So basic things I do is a soil texture, so the distribution of grain size, and lost on ignition. And when you have bulk density and lost on ignition, and we know the soil particles of mineral soil, and organic soil is a little bit more tricky because it really depends on decomposition rate. So definitely if it will be just piece of wood or just some dispersed organic, it will be different density. But you can estimate it. with some level of confidence, you can calculate based on the density of mineral particles and the bulk density, you can estimate porosity. And then whatever you want, as I told, again with dry sample you can do total organic, total nitrogen, use just elemental analyzer. But honestly, I prefer to share my core with as many researchers as possible, because the more parameters you have, you can attach to your description, the better.
What is the first depth of permafrost?
So as I told you, it's very important to keep the log of depth when you coring. But very often you do not take 100% of core. And be persistent, I measure depth after each push and I know actual depth. Not like now when it's collapsing, but when it's frozen. And count the depth of core from the bottom of core. So I assign the bottom of core the same depth I measure and said, okay, if I have 20 centimeters, so it means it's from the depth minus 20 centimeters, regardless of what was the previous depth. So I can lost a part of the core, and usually we'll lose in the very upper part of the core. There are a lot of more tricky things you can learn only when you're working with this. Some of them technical, what to do if you are stuck with Cypri or to survive it. Some of them, yeah, these tricky things which are not super obvious, as I told, like keep that core depth. And the core independent on the soil type and even temperature, you see, soil temperature. Any questions? In future, if you will need it to do any coring activity for your studies or for your future academic career, yeah, feel free to ask. And I don't know, Dim, do you want to see how else we can use that hole? We don't have tiny PVC pipes, right?
We don't have we don't have PVC pipes. I just don't know. So we can show how we can instrument the borehole with temperature sensors. It will take probably about 15 minutes.
68
Do you want to
centimeters.
change the 15 minutes or you want to go? So it's up to you.
So basically, next week I will have a visitor and will provide him a little bit more hands-on training experience with same thing, coring. And part of it, I hope the hole will not collapse completely and we will be able to make it deeper, and I want to deploy sensors here. So maybe by the very end of your class you can just stop by and see what is the temperature here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your attention.